Good evening, and thank you for joining tonight's telephone town hall hosted by Jefferson County. My name is Roger, and I'll be your moderator tonight as we have a conversation with Commissioners Libby Zabo, Casey Ty, and Leslie Dahlkemper about the state of the Jefferson County budget. Before we begin, I want to take just a moment to tell you about the format for tonight's interactive call. We realize that some of you on the call will just want to listen in, and that's terrific. But for those of you that do want to ask a question, please press *3 on your phone, and you'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you'll be returned to the call and can listen to the conversation until you are called upon. So go ahead and press *3 now if you already know your question, and this is the same process to follow throughout the call. If you hear something that generates a question, just press *3. Since we want to hear and answer as many questions as possible, we'll limit all callers to just one question, and when it's your turn, I will call your name and ask you to repeat your question for our live audience. Now I would like to turn this call over to Commissioner and Chair of the Board, Leslie Dahlkemper. Commissioner, go ahead.
Thanks, Roger. Welcome to our Jeffco Telephone Town Hall. I'm Leslie Dahlkemper, and I represent District 3, or South Jeffco, which includes Littleton, Morrison, Conifer, and portions of Lakewood and Evergreen. Before serving on the Board of County Commissioners, I worked as a journalist, owned a small business, and served in senior executive roles in both the nonprofit and private sectors. Our family has called Jeffco home for 25 years, and I have to tell you, it's an honor to serve as your county commissioner. We are here tonight to update you on important issues in Jefferson County regarding our budget, including CARES Act funding that we're distributing to our cities, businesses, nonprofits, and others during these challenging times. We'll also talk about how COVID-19 and other factors are affecting our county budget and our economy, and we'll leave plenty of time for your questions so we can hear directly from you. Between each of those topics, we'll take your questions related to those issues, and we'll have a little time later to answer any other questions that you feel are important. So if you have a question or a comment, please press *3 now.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Next up is Commissioner Casey Ty. Commissioner, before we get to specific questions, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Roger. Again, my name is Commissioner Casey Ty, and I come from District 2, which is in the central part of the county. And, it's been my honor to be a county commissioner for the last 7.5 years. I'm winding up my term, and I'm going to be leaving. I just want to say a couple of quick things. And one thing I want to say is I've been able to work alongside some great dedicated people who work for Jefferson County. They work very hard, they care very much about what they do, and they provide quality services. And it has been an honor to serve with them. And also to the residents of Jefferson County, thank you for putting your trust in me to serve for the last 7+ years. As I finish my time as an elected official, all I can say is thank you to the citizens. Jefferson County is a great place to live, work, and play. I'm going to continue to be a resident of Jefferson County, and I'm going to work hard these last 4 months. Now, again, tonight's telephone town hall is an opportunity to talk about the budget. We understand that COVID-19 is still at the forefront of everyone's minds, but tonight we'd like you to focus on the budget and the financial state of the county. We are working closely with public health, and if you would like additional information, you can check our website at www.jeffco.us and click on the COVID-19 banner across the top to find out any additional information. Again, we look forward to your questions, and as Commissioner Dahlkemper said, please press *3. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Commissioner. And finally, we have Commissioner Libby Zabo. Commissioner Zabo, go ahead with your opening remarks.
Great. Thank you, Roger, and thank you to my fellow commissioners. We are looking forward to hearing all of your questions and to engaging with you tonight. I'm Commissioner Libby Zabo, and I live in District 1, which is the northern end of the district. I'm a native to Colorado. I've lived in Jeffco since I was a small child. The Zabos have been able to live their American dream here. I was able to grow up here. My children have had the great honor of growing up here, and our grandchildren are also growing up here. We owned a business here for 50 years. I have the ability and the honor to serve all of you through the county commissioner role or at the state house where I served also. Or maybe I coached your kids in youth sports sometime or taught them in Sunday school. But it's been such a great honor to be able to serve you all and to be able to enjoy the special place that Jeffco is, that my family's been able to live our American dream, and I hope that your family has that same ability. And that's what I work hard for every day, that you all can enjoy the American dream. So thank you again for joining us. Look forward to engaging with you. So we want to hear your...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I just was going to go on here. We want to hear your questions. We have several experts with us. In addition to the 3 county commissioners who you just heard from, we have our county manager, Don Davis, county attorney, Kim Sorrells, our chief financial officer, who is new to Jeffco, and we're pleased to have her, Dr. Stephanie Corbo, our strategy planning and analysis director, Mary O'Neill, and Dan Conway, our budget manager. So if you have a question that you would like to ask us, remember, press *3 anytime during this call.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. As the commissioners have mentioned, we are going to provide a few updates on the budget, and then we'll also have plenty of time for Q&A from our participants as part of the call tonight. So let's go back to Commissioner Zabo to talk about CARES Act funding and what it means for Jeffco. Commissioner, go ahead.
You bet, Roger. Thank you again. So as you've all heard, CARES Act funding and the federal dollars were given to Jeffco to cover expenses related to COVID-19. These funds support services that directly help our business owners, neighbors, and others facing economic hardship due to the pandemic. Jefferson County received $101.7 million in CARES Act funds. We have set aside nearly $40 million to provide assistance to the Jeffco community, including $2.5 million to nonprofits, nearly $1 million in food programs, and $5 million in grants to our small businesses. We're also providing $30 million to the cities in the county to support critical businesses and community needs and to offset some of their costs. We know these dollars are making a difference. Let me tell you a little testimonial. Gilbert owns a pet grooming business in Golden. He thanked us for the small business grant, saying he was able to pay his employees some of his bills and most of all, provide peace of mind. Our CARES Act team has been working hard, starting up a variety of grant programs that benefit our Jeffco community. These grants include emergency and sustainability grants for small businesses, support for nonprofits, special districts, and chambers of commerce. And there are other areas in which this grant program is making a huge impact. In working with our local nonprofits, we are providing rental and mortgage assistance, bulk food purchases, PPE for businesses, COVID testing, and more. Our team is also researching programs that will provide additional assistance to business and nonprofits. We're considering expanding current programs to address community concerns if we see a second wave of coronavirus or to lessen possible impacts in 2021 and 2022. For more information about the grants I mentioned earlier, visit our CARES Act Emergency Grant webpage, www.jeffco.us/CARES /4057. We also have with us Dr. Stephanie Corbo, Jeffco's Chief Financial Officer, here this evening, who can help answer any questions you might have. Our thank you to you and our team for your excellent efforts.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Let's take a few questions. Again, as a reminder, you can press *3 at any time to get in the queue to ask a question. We're going to go first to Chad. Go right ahead.
Hey, so thank you for taking this time to do this. Appreciate it. My question obviously changed because you explained a lot of what I was going to talk about, but I'm curious now. You talked about this extra money that you get from the federal government. How is that actually administered? Who administers it? Who makes the decisions? And how does the public have any input on how that money is used? I say this just based on the misuse of the 9/11 funds that obviously happened with a recent political candidate or political office holder. So I'm just curious what the accountability is and who does that. Thank you.
Chad, that's a great question. This is Casey Ty. And you asked a lot of good questions there related to the CARES Act funding. One of the challenges we're facing is that currently the county and the cities have to have all the CARES Act funding spent before the end of the calendar year. Now, I understand Congress's reason. They wanted to push the money out quickly to respond to critical needs. But boy, that created a real challenge to our staff. We have to identify where the highest and best use of that money is. We have to put in controls to make sure that it's spent wisely. And we've got to try to get this all done by the end of the year. There's some discussion that Congress may extend that time frame to give us more time to spend that money. I would encourage everyone to talk to their congressional delegation and say the counties and the cities need more time to make sure this money is spent wisely, because we certainly don't want to waste it, but we do want it to get it out to where it needs to go. So we would like more time. In the meantime, we're trying to do the best we can to identify the highest need. We're working with our partners, businesses and nonprofits, and we're trying to make sure we have controls in place to spend the money wisely. Again, Chad, thanks for the question.
I would like to also add, as we all know, when the federal government gives dollars to the counties or the states or anyone else, there are a lot of rules that go along with it. And hopefully those rules are going to stop what Chad mentioned about the 9/11 funds. And we are making sure all our partners are following those rules so that we stay in compliance with what that money is truly supposed to go for. This Commissioner Zabo, thank you.
Thank you both. Next is Mary Ann. Go right ahead.
Hi. I first want to thank each of the commissioners for the service that they're providing under extraordinary circumstances. And I know two of the three of you well. I'm from Evergreen, Colorado. And I'm somebody who has spent a lot of years in public service. And I'm interested if you're seeing areas where we citizens can help in some way, or will you flag, identify for us where it may be that skilled residents in the county may be of service in some regard to help under the changing world that we're living in. Thank you.
Marianne, Commissioner Leslie Dahlkemper, thanks so much. Oh, Commissioner Ty, were you trying to jump in on that?
I was. Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. First of all, Marianne, I want to thank you so much for your question, because we can't do this work as county commissioners without our community. There is absolutely no question about it. And the more engaged our community is, the better our decision making, because when it comes to issues like the budget, we need to know what your priorities are. What do you value? What matters in terms of the taxpayer dollars that fund everything from public safety to open space to our roads and much more. So we encourage you to come talk to us during public comment. Let us know what matters most to you. Help us push out information. We've got a great website at jeffco.us, a whole section that focuses on the budget and other topics, and we invite you to take a look. And also, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, we also have, look for Jefferson County, and please feel free to retweet information and share it on your Facebook page as well. And you can always reach out to us at commish@jeffco.us, commish@jeffco.us. We'd love to hear from you and work with you. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank
and
you.
Commissioner Dahlkemper, can I also add to that? I think we talked about before COVID hit, we wanted to start a Citizens Budget Academy and get the citizens engaged and get them into knowing our budget and helping with our budget. And so hopefully we can revive that once COVID is over.
All right, very good. Next up is Joe. Go ahead.
To that point on COVID being over and Jefferson County Health, and this goes along with the budget because of how much it's affecting businesses and taxes revenue. Seeing that the new numbers that came out from the CDC showing that so much of this has been trumped up, and it just looks like such a scam right now that only about 9,000 people across the United States died. We've had a lot of viruses in time. Is Jefferson County Health going to roll back their mask mandate? And having said that,
we got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Regarding the COVID numbers, the citizens of Jefferson County should be commended for the hard work they've done. People have been wearing masks, been washing their hands, they've been doing social distancing. Dr. Johnson has provided great leadership, and I think we've seen that if we engage in these practices, that it can work in bringing our numbers down. As far as opening things up again, that's again a question we'll have to ask for our public health. But I know we're learning more about this virus. And as we get smarter about how we engage in different activities, we are slowly starting to be able to open things up. And to date, we've been able to do it successfully. So I'm very encouraged by what's been going on in Jeffco. And we have to say thank you for the citizens for doing the right things.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. For those that have joined us late, good evening. And thank you for joining the Telephone Town Hall tonight, hosted by Jefferson County. My name's Roger, and we'll be your moderator as we have a conversation with Commissioners Libby Zabo, Casey Ty, and Leslie Dahlkemper about the state of the Jefferson County budget. You can participate and ask a question by pressing *3. So we have had a few questions, but now I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Dahlkemper to provide a bit of information about the impact this crisis is having on our economy. Commissioner, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Roger. Well, we know this pandemic has affected every aspect of our lives. And for Jeffco, it's affected how we do business, too. Keeping you safe when you visit one of our county buildings is a top priority. We've installed additional plexiglass in our offices to protect customers and staff. We're taking appointments for in-person services that follow social distancing guidelines. And we continue to increase the number of online services. We also know COVID-19 is affecting our economy. You heard Commissioner Zabo a moment ago mention CARES Act dollars and how we're leveraging those funds to help local businesses, cities, and nonprofits. These are some of the economic challenges that contribute to our proactive efforts to help local businesses and our community. Unemployment has risen dramatically. The national unemployment rate is more than 14%, and Jeffco's unemployment rate is 10.2%. The number of new claims is dropping. That's the good news, but we still have a way to go to reach pre-pandemic rates, which hovered around 2%. Consumer spending has been steadily increasing since a 30% drop in April. Those are just staggering numbers. But the latest reports show we're not out of the woods yet. We are showing a current spending rate of 11.9% below the rates we saw before COVID-19 in January 2020. Now, some business sectors are showing strong numbers, while others continue to be negatively impacted by COVID-19. For example, the hospitality and travel industry is showing continuing declines from 2019 levels. However, grocery and general merchandise stores are showing an increased number of visits compared to 2019. The good news, several business indicators are rebounding, such as the number of businesses that are open and the amount of revenue those businesses are bringing in. Still, we see recovery as continuing to be uneven and slow. And that's exactly why Commissioner Zabo, Ty, and I have worked very hard along with our Jeffco staff to ensure those CARES Act dollars get into the hands of our local businesses, nonprofits, and cities as soon as possible. You know, you heard Commissioner Zabo mention one of our local business owners. Another business owner we've heard from is Delane. And Delane runs a hair salon in Conifer. It's one of the areas that I represent. It's a privilege to represent Conifer. And Delane let us know that these funds will go a long way in helping her keep her business open, not only for herself, but for her 11 employees. So you can see by that example, these funds help lessen the blow of the pandemic, and we continue to work closely with our chambers of commerce, who have been incredible throughout this effort on response and recovery. And together we're working to address future needs quickly and efficiently. Mary O'Neill is our Director of Strategy, Planning, and Analysis, and she's also here tonight to help us answer your questions. Mary, just a huge thanks to you and your team for all of your great work.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Let's take a few more questions from our audience. As a reminder, you can get in the queue by pressing *3 on your phone. We're going to go first to Tamara, who I think also submitted this question by email, but we're going to call you up now. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tamara Hartman. I am a homeowner of Jefferson County and a native. And I feel like on the budget, we have to fund I just found out about the newly created position, Regional Homeless Coordinator, by Kelly Barker of Jeffco. And I found that out by researching, and we need to fund her department. And specifically, what I wish that we focus on first is we need to help the homeless in Jeffco with finding a place to park overnight their legitimate, owned, and licensed vehicles without harassment by code enforcement, please. And we also need a line item for homelessness in the Jeffco budget for basic human dignity of getting a shower. With COVID, all the places that active homeless people who are trying to get back into society have always bought cheap gym memberships, like at local privately owned gyms or chains, and they'd go work out, get a shower. Well, not possible. There used to be shower trailers. They're closed for COVID. There are many options that they have that are free or low cost that have been taken away from them since COVID. And the ones that are paid are like, okay, you can go to, Ward Road and 44th at the truck stop, and it's $15 for a shower, but if I'm choosing between food and a shower, I'm choosing food. So my request is, as a citizen, a homeowner who pays taxes, can we please fund and help whatever initiative that Kelly Barker is working on now? Thank you.
Tamara, this is Commissioner Dahlkemper. I want to thank you so much for submitting that question. This is a huge issue that many of us are working on, and I know this is an issue that you care deeply about, and I really appreciate your raising it. You mentioned our Regional Homeless Coordinator, and Jefferson County coordinates our homeless efforts through our Regional Homeless Coordinator, who works with homeless navigators from the county and cities to coordinate services. That city-county partnership is absolutely critical in addressing what can be a very complex issue, especially when we want to get results that are sustainable in helping our more vulnerable neighbors in our county. The Regional Homeless Coordinator also oversees the Heading Home Committee, and that's a collaborative group of nonprofit representatives, community representatives, faith-based leaders, and government leaders as well. The pandemic, as you mentioned, has caused significant challenges for our entire community, and not all services previously available have been replicated. What we do know is that many people are working together to find the best solutions for public health guidelines. For example, we know one of our churches in North Jeffco does offer showers during certain times of the day, during the week, for members of our community who are homeless. But you're right, we need to do more in that area. And for more information on Heading Home and the work being done there, please visit www.headinghomejeffco.org. Tamara, thanks so much for the question.
All right. Next up is Susan. Susan, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Susan Kudus. I'm a dentist in Unincorporated Jeffco. And my question, first of all, thank you for your service. It is certainly not an easy task to operate in such a difficult time, so thank you. My question is, as a small business owner who spent a fortune in trying to acquire PPE for my business in order for me to comply with the guidelines, I didn't realize that there was CARE funding available for people such as myself until it was too late to apply. So my question for you tonight is, do you know if there's going to be, if you guys are planning on extending the funding, and when would that be available?
Susan, that is a great question. Thank you so much for bringing that forward. This is Stephanie Corbo, and I am the CFO for the county. We are continuing to look at opening up a lot of our the Business Sustainability Grant. So if you go to our website, you can see that we launched the Business Sustainability Grant. That's a program that we're going to continue to open for a short period of time each month, review those applications and process those payments, and continue to do that throughout the rest of this year. It's a program that has been vetted by our consultants. It means uniform guidance. And so that is something that you should definitely stay on our website and get connected for when that program opens. I know that you also mentioned PPE, and we do have a program when you're looking at all of the masks and supplies for your business to keep it open. And I would actually like to pass that over to Mary O'Neill, who is our Director of Strategy Planning and Analysis, and she's overseeing the CARES funds and helped implement that program. Mary, are you on the line?
I am on the line. And with regard to the PPE program, we are working with our Chambers of Commerce on this, and this program is being rolled out this week. So you will be able to go to our CARES Act landing page and follow the links to the PPE program. You can go there, and there's an application for you to fill out. You can request the different types of PPE that you need, and then we will process your application, and we will direct you to the Chamber of Commerce where you can pick that PPE up. So this is a brand new program, and we are rolling it out at the request of a lot of businesses who really have a hard time finding the PPE, and we wanted to make sure that we got it in their hands.
All right. Great question so far. If you'd like to get in the queue, press star 3 on your telephone. Pam is next. Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you, each of you, for serving. My question was, you had mentioned you had received $101 million approximately from the CARES Act, but then you talked about how the money was spent, and you talked about $40 million and $30 million, leaving about another $30 million. So I'm kind of curious to how that remaining funds are being used.
Well, Pam, thank you for the question. So when we first got the money, the $100 million, we immediately gave a big chunk of that, about $40 million, to the cities. And the cities then have an opportunity to allocate that money as they see best. That determination of where we're giving to the cities was based upon a population proportion for each city. The remaining funds are going to a couple of different things. Some is going to help with some operations that Jefferson County is experiencing related to COVID relief. For example, the sheriff's office has had to open up a new floor of the jail. They closed it related to budget cuts, but now they're reopening it because they need to be able to quarantine people who are coming into the jail. We are also looking at having to staff things differently in the county to respond to COVID. We've had to do a lot of construction related to protection of our employees and the public as they come into the courts or as they come into the licensing bureaus. We put up plexiglass. We've put in markers to show what social distancing is. We bought personal protective equipment. We've also allocated money to nonprofits and to businesses to help them with their recovery from the business interruption and to help them with their costs related to COVID. I don't have the percentages in front of me right now for the different pieces that make up the 100 million, but I can tell you it changes because, as I said before, with Congress putting that very tight time frame on how the money's spent, we're having to look at where we can spend the money the most efficiently and also the most expeditiously. So we're seeing those numbers change from one category to another as we identify needs and we see what is scalable and what we can get done. But staff is reporting to us on a regular basis, and we'll make sure that current distribution is up on our Jeffco website at jeffco.us. Again, it's a good question, Pam.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Let's take a few minutes and turn this back over to Commissioner Tai, who we just heard from, to share some information about the financial realities that Jefferson County is facing as we move into 2021. Commissioner, back to you.
Well, Roger, Pam's question is actually pretty timely because it's a good transition to this topic. Our budget team and our accounting team is really trying to figure out how to account for these changing conditions. So one thing we do know about the 2021 budget is there's a lot of uncertainty. Some of our programs we budgeted in 2020 are going to cost less because of COVID, and other programs are going to have higher expenditures, either directly because of COVID or because of a change in circumstance. So they're constantly looking at a changing field when it comes to how our budget dollars are being spent in 2020. And of course, that's going to impact our 2021 budget. Now, last year, if you go back to last year, which seems like a long time ago, pre-COVID, we were looking at $16.1 million in cuts because of our expenses were outpacing the amount of revenue we were allowed to keep under Tabor. Well, we submitted a budget that had those $16.1 million in cuts, but some of those cuts, they fall into two categories. Some of the cuts were in ongoing expenses, and other cuts were one-time savings. Well, when you have ongoing expenses, that helps reduce that deficit we had in ongoing years. Those one-time savings just help in the year that they are made. So we did the $16.1 million in cuts, but of those, only about half were in ongoing savings. Those ongoing savings are things like reducing projects in the facilities master plan, reducing our investment in the CSU extension program, and reducing staffing in the county jails. Those are cuts you'll see every year, and they reduced our budget by a little over $8.5 million. But we still have now another $8 million in operations that we're going to need to identify for 2021. And so we're continuing to talk to our various elected officials and program leaders about where they can make the cuts for 2021. And of course, that ties back into that Tabor cap I've talked about. Tabor has an escalation provision in it. And it over the last several years, has allowed the county revenues to increase by about 3% per year. But the county has had an increase in expenses to provide services of about 5% per year. And that resulted in that gap between what the revenue was and what the expenditures are. That means that each year we have to find savings to make up that gap. I understand our cities are currently facing some difficult times related to tax revenue because of COVID. A lot of those challenges are related to sales tax. Jefferson County gains most of its income through revenue through property taxes. And to date, we haven't seen the reductions as the cities have. So our revenue stream has been pretty constant. I know our county treasurer, Jerry DiTullio, is working hard with taxpayers to work with them on figuring out ways to make their payments. And we're not requiring interest payments right now as they work out a payment plan for the taxpayers. Like many local governments, we are working closely to monitor what happens with assessments due to the pandemic, and that relates to the Gallagher Amendment. The Gallagher Amendment ties how residential assessments go down if residential values go up faster than commercial values. So we're watching that closely because in future years, the Gallagher Amendment could impact county revenues. Current projections show a dramatic reduction in statewide residential assessment rates. And so we're going to have to watch that in future years because that will impact the Jeffco budget. Preliminary forecasts for the county could experience as much as a $29 million loss in 2022 in revenue as a result of the reduction of the assessment rates. That will impact the library and the Developmentally Disabled Fund in addition to the county fund. Dan Conway, our county budget manager, is here tonight, and he will help us answer any questions we have related to the Jeffco budget. Dan, I want to thank you and your budget team for the hard work they're doing in these constantly changing times.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to get back to questions. And first up is Shane. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you all's time doing this tonight. Really do appreciate that. You've answered maybe a lot of my question already. And I did get on just a little bit late. So if my question is asking something you've already answered, I apologize. But I guess to say I really do appreciate the presentation you just had right there about the attention to cutting costs and the attention you're putting on watching expenses. I mean, you see what's happening in the private sector with job losses and companies big, medium sized and small having to do this very same thing with costs and expenses. So you all doing that with our taxpayers' money, we sure do appreciate that, recognizing that it does make for some hard decisions at times. I want my question is on public safety, funding of the Sheriff's Department, and public education. Definitely support what you talked about, giving money to the cities and nonprofits and business support. All of that is very well and good and very much needed. Is any of the CARES Act funding available to offset some of the costs or some of the budget reductions in public safety and education?
Hi, Shane. This is Commissioner Dahlkemper. Thanks so much. Great question regarding public safety and our public schools. You heard Commissioner Tai talk a little bit earlier about the Sheriff's Office. I'll just add one quick footnote. The Sheriff's Office, we did allocate CARES Act dollars for the Sheriff's Office, and the Sheriff's Office has spent $2 million to date and has $22.7 million set aside. So we are continuing to make sure that we're responsive to any needs related to CARES Act dollars for public safety. In terms of public education, I'm really glad you answered that question, especially as a former Jeffco school board member, because that is certainly an issue that I also care deeply about. During the summer, we saw the need increase for schools and families, for students and families in need. The Jeffco Public School District did receive $40 million in CARES Act money from the Department of Ed, but they still had additional needs. And one of the things that we did as a county is we supported and provided dollars to Jeffco schools to continue the grab-and-go meals for some of our most vulnerable families across Jefferson County. And CARES Act dollars from a modest investment of CARES Act dollars from the county helped that program continue to stay strong. And it was potentially going to be cut in half from 11 sites to half that number, 6 or 7, and 5 or 6. And we were able to help fund and complement what the district was doing and keep that grab-and-go program going strong throughout the summer and really serve students and families in need. Thanks so much for your question, Shane. I hope that helps with an answer.
All right. Thank you. Again, *3 if you'd like to get in the queue. Next is Susan. Go ahead.
Hi, I have two questions. One is you gave a website to the Jefferson County where we could look at the CARES Act, and I didn't get a chance to write it down. If you guys wouldn't mind repeating that. My other question is a little bit different. I currently own a commercial space, and my question for you is, you guys were talking earlier in regards to the various assessments to a private property, but I just wanted to know what is the plan in terms of looking at commercial spaces, given the fact that there is such a lack of need for commercial property as it relates to some people working from home, and some of us are kind of struggling. So if you wouldn't mind kind of touching base on that and what the assessors are planning on doing, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Susan. This is Commissioner Zabo, and I'm going to repeat that website to you, and I'll do it real slow because I know it kind of gets confusing after a while. www.jeffco.us/4057. And about your question about the assessment of commercial properties, you know, that we do not have the assessor on the phone at this time. And I don't even know if we know, you know, what's going to be held in the future for these commercial properties. We know that we are going to be doing business differently in the county, all over the state, probably in the entire country. We are going to be looking at things different. But Susan, if you would like to email us this question, we can answer it, send it up to the assessor, and he can get an answer for you on that. So if you email to commish@jeffco.us, we can get that question to the assessor, and he can probably give you a much better answer than any of us can. So thank you for your time tonight.
All right. Thank you. Once again, if you'd like to participate in the discussion, press *3 on your keypad. You'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information and get you in the queue. I'll also mention we've got about 20 minutes left or so in the call. And if you need to leave the call early but want to leave a comment or question, you can press *9. So *3 to ask a question live, or *9 to leave the call but leave a message on your way out. Let's go back to Dave for a question. Go ahead.
Hi, excuse me. My question is, I live in Lightning Rock in the northern part of the county, and we've seen some significant tax assessments. It sounds like you guys are really trying to stretch the dollar and pull the proverbial rabbit out of the hat. But looking at expenditures where social needs are being challenged, sheriff's departments, jails, education. My wife is an educator in Jeffco. And looking at all the compression of dollars, is there still a budget line for review and development of the Jefferson Parkway that goes through the northern county? My thought would be that would be a little bit of a luxury right now, considering all the other pressing needs that the county has to take care of. Thank you.
So, Dave, thanks for your question. I seem to be talking a lot about uncertainty going on in the county with everything. This is Casey Tye again, and yeah, there is uncertainty surrounding the Jefferson Parkway as well. I'm sure you're aware that there was a test earlier, I guess it was late last year, that showed a higher reading than other tests related to plutonium, and we've done more testing since that time, and that test itself appears to be an anomaly. But in the meantime, there's still some uncertainty about the level of commitment from different partners. I can tell you that Arvada, Broomfield, and Jefferson County, we need to be in discussions about who is going to stay in the partnership or not, and those conversations really haven't taken place yet. As far as our budget line item goes, we don't currently have a lot of money dedicated to the Jefferson Parkway. We're still paying a small amount for minor administrative work that needs to be done with it, but there isn't anything active, any high spend rate going on right now. There are certain needs on the northwest side related to transportation that we need to figure out. So if the parkway isn't the answer, we need to figure out what is, because I can tell you transportation on the northwest side is a problem, and we've got to find a solution. And right now we're really challenged in getting people and goods moved from the north south on the west side of town. So those discussions are ongoing, but as of right now, I can't give you any solid updates because there just isn't one yet. So thank you for your question.
All right. Next up is Mike. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners, for putting the show on tonight. Question I have, it just preface it a little bit. Small businesses have really been suffering from the mandated shutdowns, and especially mom and pops like small restaurants. My question is, other than cuts already committed under the $16 million budget cuts, example, the sheriff's office, how many county employees have been furloughed during COVID-19, and how much budget savings has there been realized by these furloughs?
Hi, Mike. This is Commissioner Dahlkemper. Thanks so much for your question. We are fortunate in that no employees have been laid off or furloughed due to budget cuts or due to COVID-19. We are looking very hard at areas across the budget where we can realize additional savings. So, for example, the county went to a 4-day work week, which will save us some dollars. And that's really what it's going to be about. There's no big one place where we can identify in one fell swoop $8.8 million in budget cuts. But we can think creatively and innovatively about, one, how we might do business differently, where we can trim further, and really think hard about what are the services that only the county can provide. What do we as county government focus on? For example, roads and focusing on public safety and those other services and programs that are core to county government. Thanks so much for your question tonight.
All right. Laura, it's your turn. Go right ahead.
My question is about when they cut the budget and as a result cut the budget of the sheriff's office and have been letting prisoners out early because of the budget. I'm wondering what they've been doing, to get the money back so we can get back to how things were and not have all these cuts and not be letting people out early.
Hi, Laura. This is Commissioner Zabo. And as you're well aware, and I'll give you the figures, the general fund cuts to the sheriff's office were $3.2 million in 2020, and they're proposing to be about $500,000 in 2021, which when we first started talking about this topic, it was more of about $7 million in 2020 and $3 million in 2021, and we have figured out better ways to budget and better things that could be trimmed in our budget so that we wouldn't be letting more folks out of jail. The core function of government is to keep our community safe, and that is, I know, one of Sheriff Schrader's biggest demands and something that he really cares about. Our revenue limits present a continuing challenge in the future years. And, some of those challenges are all the unfunded mandates, that we get, from the state and the federal level, and different things that we must do by following the law. And we need to try to curtail that. The sheriff is no longer letting people go because of budget cuts. The jail population was around 1,200 people before COVID, and COVID has gotten us around a 600-ish prisoners that we are keeping in there. We need to, be careful that we don't have a huge outbreak, and that was one of the concerns of Sheriff Schrader. So there is no longer really any budget cuts that are leading to letting prisoners go. It's now all due to COVID at this point.
And Commissioner Zabo, I'm going to jump in as well. We've been talking a lot tonight, with good reason, about public safety, and law enforcement. And we also wanted to take a moment to reiterate to our community that we stand with you in taking action to end racial discrimination. You know, in Jeffco and elsewhere, peaceful protests have amplified the voices of African Americans in our community and elsewhere, and other people of color who are victims of injustice. And we reject police brutality and racism of all kinds. And I'd also encourage you to read Sheriff Schrader's statement on this issue, and also some of the work that he and his team are doing in the sheriff's office to address these issues. County commissioners are prioritizing community conversations to find sustainable solutions, and we're also reviewing county policies to close gaps in healthcare, housing, hiring, and other areas that deny people of color equal opportunity. We take this work very seriously. We're also working on adding a position in Jeffco for a diversity, equity, and inclusivity manager, as well as the establishment of a cultural diversity council. We continue to work on this consistently. It is a major area of focus for us, and we'll provide more information on this important topic in the near future. And we also very much look forward to talking with our community about these issues.
All right, thank you both. Let's go to Ron next. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you again for all of your service. A lot is being done to help small businesses, and we appreciate that. But seems to be a gap in being able to help small home-based businesses that are small, independent sole proprietors, where there's only one employee. Currently, there's no funding that's available for people like that, and I'd like your comments.
Hi, Ron. This is Mary O'Neill. I'm the Director of Strategy Planning and Finance, and I'm overseeing the CARES Act team. I'm really glad you asked this question. We have been, well, as you probably have heard and seen, we have had quite a few programs roll out for businesses with our emergency grant program, the sustainability programs, and we're hoping to roll one out on rent relief. But we do know, we've been hearing from people that the home-based businesses have been kind of in a little bit of a gap there. So as we've been looking forward and working on a way to help the home-based businesses, we decided that we really need to hear from the businesses personally. We don't want just to assume that we know all of the challenges that the home-based businesses are facing. So next week on Thursday, we're holding a focus group with some of those businesses. And I'm not sure if you are a business in that category of being a home-based business, but if you are and you're interested in participating, we would love to have you be part of that focus group. You can send an email to us at jeffcocares@jeffco.us, and we will be happy to add you into that group.
Thank you, Mary. May, it is your turn. Go ahead.
Hi. I was just wondering if there's going to be a second stimulus check.
Hi, this is Casey Ty, and thank you for your question, May. You know, the stimulus checks were, I think, a federal program. And so I'm not sure if there's going to be a second stimulus check or not related to what the federal government is going to do. But there are still some opportunities possibly for programs you may qualify for through the county and through CARES Act. Maybe you want to look into rental assistance. You could talk to some of our nonprofits, such as the Action Center, and see if you qualify for rental assistance. And we are still looking at maybe doing some additional checks for businesses in unincorporated Jeffco. If you live in a city, you want to contact your city and see if they have any programs with CARES Act funds. But as far as a stimulus check, that's a federal program. You'll have to check with the federal government about that.
All right, next
Thanks,
is
Mr.
Lauren.
Ty. I'll just jump in. I'm so sorry. I'll just add super quick, Roger, that to May's comment, one thing we also want our residents to know, our community members in Jeffco to know, we work very, very closely with our Colorado delegation and also with Senators Bennett and Gardner as they're looking at economic stimulus packages. So they do hear from us on calls because we want to make sure that we also get those dollars to Jefferson County to help with the very issues we've been talking about tonight.
All right, thank you. Next is Warren. Go ahead.
Warren, this is Warren. I just want to make a comment about the snow removal. I'm a World War II vet, and I can't move it, so I have to get somebody else to do it. And I live on the corner of a side street, and I'm in Ward 1, on a side street and a through street. And I cannot see from my house the side street. And after it was done, the snowplow came by and pushed snow back up on it. And then I guess the police department came by to check or something, and they sent me a fine for not having it removed. And it had been until the snowplow came by. So finally, talking to the police department, we got that all settled. But that's the only problem I really have had in this town. I've been here about 6 years.
Well, Warren, thanks for your call. It sounds like maybe you live in one of the cities, and of course, it's a challenge for any jurisdiction to do proper snow removal and not inconvenience folks. All I can tell you is our road crews work very hard, and they try to identify ways to move the snow that is not inconvenience to the citizens. But they also have to factor in efficiency and how they're driving their routes. And so, they'll try to do the best they can. We always listen to what people, concerns they have about where we move the snow to. But at the end of the day, it's always a challenge. But I'm glad that you don't have too many other concerns related to that. But anyone can always feel free to contact us about snow removal, and we'll try to see what we can do. But it's a big challenge for our crews, and they do a great job. So thanks.
All right. We are close to the end of the hour, so why don't we go to Commissioner Dahlkamper. Do you have any closing remarks for us tonight?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Roger. I want to, first of all, thank everyone for participating in tonight's telephone town hall. Great questions tonight. It is so important that we hear from you, and we appreciate your comments and the wide range of issues that you brought up tonight as well. We always say that Jeffco has a long tradition of working together to care for one another during a crisis. And we started this call by talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, and I would say that this pandemic is no exception. As we focus on preventing the spread and tackling the economic recovery, response and recovery are top of mind for all three of us as your county commissioners. We, more than anything, want to thank you for doing your part. We can't stress that enough to help prevent the further spread of the virus, because your efforts are keeping businesses open, they're helping students return to school safely, reopening our economy, and it really is in our community's hands, and being able to work with you as partners on this issue is a real privilege. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Zabo, any final thoughts as we wrap up?
You bet, Roger. Thank you. And thank you all to all of you who have engaged tonight with us to talk about our budget and the things that we need to make sure that you all, the taxpayer, are taken care of. With COVID, we need to make sure that we strike the balance of keeping all of our citizens safe and keeping all of our business functioning so that our families can survive the COVID crisis and not lose their homes and not lose their businesses. We need to make sure that when we need to make budget cuts, that it has the least impact on you, the taxpayer. Thank you for all of you being with us tonight. You are what makes Jeffco the special place that it is to all of us. With all of us working together, we can be Jeffco strong.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. And finally, Commissioner Tai, any final thoughts?
Yes, thanks, Roger. I think it was a great call tonight. I want to thank everyone for staying on the line for the whole call. This is a big topic, and just know that we're working as hard as we can to make the right decisions in a very quickly changing time period. If you have more questions and we did not get to your question tonight, please leave us a voice message at the end of the call. You will hear a recorded message, and then you can leave your comment or question at that time after the tone. We want to hear from you, and we will get back to you. Again, thanks for staying on the line. I thought it was a great call.
All right. Thank you to all three commissioners and to all of you for joining us this evening. Again, we're sorry if we didn't get to your question, but as Commissioner Tai just mentioned, you can still leave a message or comment at the end of the call, so just stay on the line and wait for the tone. On behalf of everyone in Jefferson County, stay safe and stay healthy, and have a good evening.